Exactly. Excellent. Okay. It is 12:00 and we are calling the meeting to order. And I'll start with roll call. We know that Commissioner Smith is absent. Commissioner Perez.
Here.
Commissioner Burgess, absent. Commissioner Trainer.
Sure.
Me? I am here. Commissioner Mesa.
Present.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so we are gonna look to Steve DiGiulio to introduce a new business item for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair or Vice Chair, as the case may be. The first item would be for a motion to amend the agenda to read approval of interim executive director contract.
All right, can I get a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is, again, consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, that there's nothing to preclude the addition of an agenda item during the course of a meeting, as long as that is a regular meeting. So I just wanted to make sure that we were putting belt and suspenders on this and making sure that it was added to the agenda. The agenda item is to confirm the form of agreement with the GMP consultant firm who will be providing effectively loaned executives to the housing authority to serve on an interim basis. This was discussed by the board and approved in concept at its meeting a week ago, or maybe it was a week earlier. And this has now been finalized in terms of form, and it would be appropriate for the board to simply ratify that, and in the absence of the chair, to authorize the vice chair to so sign and move forward. So a motion would be in order to approve the GMP consultant agreement that is currently scheduled to run for a period of 6 months.
Great, I entertain a motion.
Second.
Oh, I need someone to make the motion.
So I will.
And second.
I'll second.
And second, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you, commissioners.
We'll provide for circulation of that agreement to the parties for signature, and as the board knows, and that effective start date would be a week from today on that contract, assuming that that's acceptable to GMP, which I don't have any doubt that it will be. And with that in mind, I think that concludes any need for my further involvement today, unless there's some further questions from the board.
I do have a question. Is a contract electronic signature, or do I need to sign that in person? Or we can work that out.
We can work that out. While you're in the office today, if I know I've sent a copy of that to Chris, to Jason, and Janina, and one of them could print that off and you could sign it, and then they could PDF that to me. I think that might be a convenient way to do it.
Okay, I have a copy right here.
Okay.
Will do.
And similarly, I'll be documenting the board's procurement process leading to this for finance department's records as well.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Be well.
You too. Okay, now we're open for public comment. I am calling for any public comment. Doesn't look like we have anyone here, so we'll go ahead and move forward. Communications report from the resident councils. I don't know who's virtual, okay. There's none, so other communications, calling for any other communication from senior staff. Well,
Oh, I can say one thing.
okay,
You were invited to an audit exit conference today at 1:30.
I was gonna ask about that, yeah.
Nobody accepted and it's been rescheduled for tomorrow at 2:30 and Chris will forward the invitation. You're not obligated to attend. It looks like it's gonna be the same as last year. The finding is just related to inspections that's going forward. The finances look clean.
Okay,
They're just waiting for some more information from a property manager company that we have called Greystar that manages our Huntington Park property. It's been a little challenging to get that information, so they've moved it to tomorrow.
okay, I'll check the calendar and see. How many of us need to attend?
None of you need to attend, just me, but we invite the board because some folks are interested in
Yeah, we
attending.
were at the entrance when you said.
Yeah, you're not obligated,
Okay,
but you're welcome to come.
And no more than three.
no more than 3. Yeah, I didn't know if there was a minimum amount. I knew there was a maximum.
Yeah,
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
yes.
Thank
And
you.
they finished both the financial and the accountability audit, which I wasn't expecting. So that's really good news for all of us because they were looking at things like Open Public Meetings Act and things like that in the accountability audit. So they didn't have any findings.
Okay. And they will send the report.
They will give it to us and we can forward
You
it.
can forward it to
Yeah.
us. Okay.
Yep.
That would be good. Thank
So-
you.
Thank you.
Okay, so executive director's report, we have no report as of now. And so we'll move on to approving the minutes. So we need to approve the minutes from February 26th, March 4th, March 5th, and March 18th. Instead of doing that all individually, I'm asking that we can do it as long as you all don't have any concerns, corrections, we can do it as one group.
Move for approval of minutes of said dates. Second.
Thank you. It's moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you for passing that. Those minutes are passed. And now we have the consent agenda. You all have your packets and the 2 items on the consent agenda are the Section 8 payments and the summary of vouchers for January and February for both of those. And I just need a motion to accept. Okay, been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you so much. That passes, and now it is time for public hearing. This is public hearing proposed PHA annual plan and MTW supplement effective July 1, 2024. Is there anyone here for public comment?
Not on my.
Yeah, moving right along.
I'll better hurry and finish your sandwich.
And also the summary of vouchers for. Oh, I said that. Okay, great. Okay, so there's no public, there's no public hearing for those. Okay, so we move on. Oh, Janina, I'm sorry.
Well, I would ask, actually, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
But I would just ask, so we've opened the hearing, there's no public comment presented on the proposed, annual PHA annual plan covering, the fiscal year upcoming, July 1 through June 30 next year. And I was just gonna summarize real quickly, if you look at the actual contents of the proposed plan, there's not a whole lot in there. It covers our new development activities, which is the pre-development for the Ben Young Senior Complex and the ongoing Park District redevelopment efforts. And also there's something in there about, some project-based voucher work we're going to do. There really isn't a whole lot else. We had our meeting with the Resident Advisory Board on January 30th. And I was really, sort of hampered in preparing that letter, with the RAP's comments on the annual plan and the, agency's response. But you have that now. The RAB didn't have a whole lot of comment on the substantive plan itself. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeanine, I think this is the last year of our current 5-year plan. So when we move into things next fall, it's going to be coming up with a whole new 5-year plan with the agency's, 5-year goals and objectives. And the annual plan is the thing that sort of shows how, and the progress we've made in doing that and the new activities we're gonna have in fulfilling those goals and objectives. So that's really the annual plan. I don't know if Janina wanted to address the MTW supplement, not.
Sure, I can just say a few words. We joined the Moving to Work demonstration in August of 2021. We call our local program Making Things Work, and the purpose of that is just to help folks understand that it doesn't just apply to people becoming employed. We do have activities related to all aspects of the voucher program, all aspects of our programs. So as Chris said, we didn't have a lot of content in our MTW plan for this year. We still been heavily focusing on the rent study enrollment, which is part of the sort of signature initiative we're implementing under MTW, our tiered rent study. So that was a 1-year-long enrollment of all of our non-elderly, non-disabled, non-special program participants into a rent study that's testing a new method of setting rents where rent is based on tranches of income rather than the family's specific income. And we're only re-looking at their income every 3 years with the goal of encouraging them to earn more and keep that extra amount of additional income rather than us taking 30% of that for their rent portion. So that's really been the focus of our MTW activities over the past couple of years. I anticipate that, as Chris said, with the upcoming 5-year plan cycle, we'll probably have some additional MTW waivers in the upcoming year.
Oh, and I forgot to mention too, that the last step in the process is going to be, we'll have a resolution later in the meeting for the board to adopt the PHA plan and MTW supplement. And then we have some certifications, Vice Chair Andrews will have you sign, that, in place of, since Chair Smith isn't here. And then we present the plan to, or we send it off to HUD by the deadline of, April 15th, for HUD to.
Okay, thank you for that. There's one more call for time for anyone at public comment. Otherwise, I'm gonna call for the motion, but I do have a question before that. We just received this information.
The RAB letter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and call for a motion to close public comment, but when we get to the resolution, I think we should just look.
Sure.
Okay, so I just need a motion to close public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Items for individual consideration. So this is resolution 1590, adopting the PHA annual plan and MTW supplement for fiscal year 2024 to 25. I'm supposed to give you the floor again. Is there anything else?
I forgot that was coming up so soon. I think I just told you, with this resolution has you authorize the plan. If you wanted to, I can tell you anything you want to know about the RAB comment letter. We gave a presentation to the Resident Advisory Board on what our planned activities were for the upcoming fiscal year and gave them the chance to comment on those. I think one of the comments, someone wondered if they could use their voucher to move into Ben Young senior housing complex once it's completed, and we explained to them they might not want to do that because those will be project-based units, and if they were to move in, they have to give up, get on the waiting list and give up their tenant-based voucher. I think someone else wondered, there's a, fund that we're going to be able to have that's, a part of the, making things work, the MTW, activity or, demonstration. And what that is going to be, and Janina, tell me if I get this wrong, it's going to, we're able to sort of use our Section 8 funds in ways we didn't used to be able to. And one of the things we're going to do is have a fund where if there are small items that need to be corrected in order for a unit to pass the inspection, for someone to move in, the HQS inspection, like a light switch cover or, something smaller, we'll just pay for that out of the fund rather than having to, continue on with the inspection process and delay the people moving in. One of the RAD participants wondered if that funding could be used for larger items like appliances and refrigerators, and the answer is no. The whole purpose of that fund is just to have the inspection pass, and if it's something minor, for us to pay for that. I think there was another question around the whole concept of people who are currently in our project-based housing. After they live there for a year, they're eligible to receive a tenant-based voucher, but that's subject to availability. And so they go on what's called a current interest list. And did you want to talk more about how we're prioritizing those?
Sure. But I will say that's not a waiver that's part of this year's plan. I think that was a question, that was just a general question.
Okay.
So just for context, a lot of the folks that come to the resident advisory board meetings, they just see it as an opportunity to share their feedback and ask questions of PHA staff. They're not necessarily coming because they have specific comments or questions about the plan. So in this particular case, they had a question regarding the process for getting a tenant-based voucher. So we clarified for them what the existing policy is, but that wasn't a waiver that was under consideration for this current fiscal year.
Thanks, Janina. And the last thing was someone, and Jason probably remembers this, someone was questioning about, our plans to demolish the existing units on the old Baker Heights public housing site. And they wondered, will steps be taken to make sure hazardous materials are, handled appropriately? And also, will we be salvaging any of the material to be used, in future work? And the answer to the first question is everything's very heavily regulated. Our contractor will be doing the demolition, has to, put things in, follow the abatement process to make sure that asbestos or any other hazardous material is handled appropriately. And in terms of the salvaging, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's really up to the individual contractor, whether they want to reuse any of that material. But given the age of the building and, the very basic, they built it in the early 40s, the very basic material they use, it's likely they're just going to haul that to the dump. Am I accurate there? Yeah, so those were the 4 questions, that the RAD had, or comments they had. They didn't have deep substantive comments or say, we want you to do this. So hopefully, Vice Chair Andrews, that summarizes things well enough.
And I'll ask the board, do you have any questions? Okay. Are you ready to vote?
Yeah, he does there.
I will say that again, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, I just had a question for Chris. I was just making sure we closed the hearing.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
yes.
into the rest.
Oh, sure.
We did. Okay, so are you ready to vote on resolution 1590? I call for a
I move for approval of resolution 1590.
And you just said you'll second that.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. So resolution 1590 is passed. Now we'll go on to resolution 1591, revising the HCD program, utility allowances, and that will be Chris. So
Yeah. And And I'm being told that when I sent out the final version of the board packet, I sent out the agenda and not everything, but I will be sending out yet another version that includes, the agreement that Steve DiGiulio referenced. So I'll make sure, you guys get it, the commissioners, so that you guys will get a complete pack. So, just so you know that. Okay.
Sorry, we'll also have 1391 and 1390.
Yeah, and actually those are already in there, but the RAD comment letter will be in there too. Yeah,
This guy's good fun, so.
complete packet. So in terms of resolution 1591, every year we're required to review our utility allowance schedules. Just to advise the commissioners, utility allowances are something that's factored in when we when a voucher participant's share of the rent is calculated. So it's not just rent, it's, also whatever utilities under the lease they're responsible for. And clearly it would be too hard to do that on a case by case basis. So what HUD says is that we need to, review utility rates, and then based on consumption calculations, determine, what is, the amount that someone monthly would pay for heating and cooking and, the various utility categories. So once a year, we have to review those schedules and make sure that they're in line with current utility rates. We contract with a company called Nelrod, who's been around a long time, and they do a utility allowance study for us. They look at the current rates and the upcoming rates. They took into account the increase to electric rates. It's going to go in place on April 1, and I think there's one other one as well. So everything's factored in. And what we generally do is, if a rate changes, if a rate changes or the utility used to calculate a rate changes by 10% or more, we're required to update that utility allowance. And so when they did the study this year, pretty much everything with the exception of trash hit threshold. So we had an increase to electric and gas. We had a decrease to propane and fuel oil. We had an increase to water and sewer rates. And so we had to update the allowances, for those particular utilities. And the utility allowance schedule breaks things out by unit type and bedroom size, and all of that is, in the, actually you would have gotten that, well, maybe you didn't. I'm going to say I sent out the second packet, and I guess you didn't get that and didn't have time to review those. Or did you? And that's my question for you.
So it's
No,
actually on 170,
So
172 and 173, pages 172.
So if you'll allow me.
Oh, yes, I'll give you the time to take a
What
look.
I got, and maybe I'm just not seeing it right, the packet I have ends at page 124. And then I have another separate attachment with the agenda.
Yeah, I didn't send out the updated.
Okay.
In my haste. Sorry, I've been very busy.
I just thought I was missing something.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, you were.
So I mean, I would just sort of say, Nelrod is a very reputable company. We partner with Hasco to do the utility allowances. This has been through two sets of eyes, my colleague at Hasco and myself. The changes to the allowances are as I described, and I would hope that based on that, you would see fit to approve this resolution.
Have you feeling, commissioners?
Okay, next motion.
You said yes. You said
The motion.
okay.
That's fine.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept resolution 1591. All in favor? Opposed? And no abstentions. Thank you so much. Resolution 1591 passes. And so we'll move on to Resolution 1592, adopting revised payment standards for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And it's not going to be Chris this time. It's going to be Wendy Westby. Wendy's not here. Is Wendy here?
It's correct then.
No, so I think it'll be nice.
Krista?
Oh, she's ready.
Kristen, can you hear us? Are you ready?
I can hear you. Was not prepared to present this item today, so I'm just pulling up the packet.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure. Did she remember the invite to the meeting?
She got in.
I can kick things off while Kristen just pulls up since I worked with her on this resolution. So just for background, it's similar to the utility allowances that Chris talked about. We set broad limits by bedroom size for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The idea being that this is consistent with kind of fair market rent in the area. We do a further test to determine whether the rent for that particular unit is reasonable based on, comparable units. So for example, a 3-bedroom unit, a single family home, obviously is going to rent for more than an apartment. So the utility or the payment standard is sort of a broad cap on how much we will pay for a particular unit size, subject to further reduction based on rent reasonableness. In some cases, we can actually approve more than the payment standard if the rent is reasonable, and the family can pay that difference up to 40% of income at initial occupancy. So the purpose of this resolution is to update our payment standards for the upcoming fiscal year that starts July 1st. HUD comes out with new fair market rents each year. Those are for the whole Seattle Bellevue metropolitan area. And the idea is that they do a survey, or in some cases, PHA do a survey, and then they extrapolate that data for the entire 2 county, King and Snohomish County area to come up with what they consider the fair market rent for each bedroom size. We then use that information to determine what our payment standards are for our particular area that we operate in, which in our case is just Snohomish County. Kristen, do you want to take it from there, or do you want me to keep going?
If you could just finish it out, since you and Wendy worked on this together, I think that makes the most sense. Thanks, Janina.
So, a year or two ago, we made the decision to increase our payment standards to 110% of the fair market rent. That's the maximum amount that we're allowed to set them at. We can set them anywhere from 90% to 110%. The idea is that because we have one payment standard per bedroom size for the entire county area, some areas are more expensive than others. So we want to make sure that we set them at a level that allows us to approve, rents in all areas of the county. So for example, a home in Mukilteo versus a home in Darrington, right? We want to make sure that folks have access to the entire county. We will be implementing more granular payment standards in the future. HUD has mandated that housing authorities that meet certain requirements in terms of the fair market rent area have to implement what they call small area fair market rent payment standards, which are based on zip code. So that will be coming next year, starting January of the next calendar year. In the meantime, what we're proposing is just to continue keeping our payment standards at 110% of the updated fair market rents, which were released, I believe, toward the end of calendar year 2023. That's consistent with the level that HASCO says their payment standards at. As you all may be aware, we have an agreement with HASCO that essentially allows our participants and their participants to use their vouchers anywhere within Snohomish County and the city of Everett. So we, as Chris said, with utility allowances, we have tried to keep our payment standards and utility allowances in general alignment. It's less confusing for landlords, it's less confusing for participants. If they're talking to each other, well, how come HASCO approved this, but EHA won't approve it. So this is, consistent with the policy that we've made in the past and consistent with our strategic objective to, increase housing choice and ensure that folks have access to communities of opportunity by making sure that we're not, our payment standards aren't artificially limiting people from renting in all areas of the county. We also have looked at the financials and determined that we don't expect increasing the payment standards will have a negative financial impact on the voucher program budget. We have funding available to pay for, any increased HAP costs. Generally speaking, rent reasonableness, which, as I said, is the limit on, how much we'll pay for a particular unit based on comparable units, tends to be the limiting factor, not the payment standard. But again, we want to make sure that we're not limiting housing choice.
Any questions? You said yes?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thank you for stepping in. Who was supposed to give that report there?
Wendy Westby and I worked together on the resolution.
Thank you for stepping in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Are you ready to vote?
The move for approval of resolution number 1592.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And resolution 1592 passes. I do want to say this, and I'm going to chat with Chair Smith, but I think that for some of us, it would, if we don't have the resolution that we can review ourselves, we may have to move it on to the next meeting before it's.
Yeah, and I apologize. I
We
sent
understand.
this out
Totally
on Friday and
You've been
no
swamped,
one
Chris.
said, hey, we only got the agenda.
You've been swamped, but we appreciate all you've done.
Yeah,
Yeah, some of us wait until the weekend to even open, so that, yeah, thank you so much for that. That really is all of the business that we have today, unless you all have something else. So the next meeting is scheduled for April 1st, and many of the senior staff will not be available. They're wondering if we want to change the meeting or continue to have our meeting on April 1st. I know that we will be introducing a new executive director.
that's next Monday.
Wow. April is here. It is upon us. And so it's really up to us as commissioners, whether we want to continue to have that meeting on that day or move it to another day.
I haven't even met with candidates. I just spoke with she emailed me yesterday, would like to meet,
Yes,
so we're going to meet, but as of this moment, I have nothing to do on. And we're right on top of it.
yeah, but we are, right, yeah, so she wants to meet with us for information and such, but we've already contracted with them. And we are moving forward on that, but we're excited to start this process. So the question is, do you want to postpone the April 1st meeting and until a later date?
I think I would like to try to meet with.
Or introduce her to, okay. So we can,
This is kind of funny.
do we have to set that date today, or can we set it at a later date by?
It doesn't have to be set today. I think you can agree to, you're going to postpone the April 1st meeting until a later date. And, I would maybe take a to be determined. I would maybe take a vote on that. And then, it sounds like you don't want to just forego the April meeting altogether until the next scheduled meeting, which is May 6th.
No,
Right, no, we need to have it.
Okay, so I think procedurally, the best thing to do is just to go ahead and present a motion where you are agreeing to reschedule the April 1st meeting for a date to be determined, and then I can work with you all on that, and then it becomes a special meeting. So we'll want to make sure we have our agenda the way we want it and that type of thing, because we can't, for a special meeting, we can't introduce a new item, when it's a special meeting, it's written in stone once the initial agenda goes out. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and Chair Smith, I know will be out of town starting April 6th, but I don't know how long she will be here, so maybe we need to look at when she'll return.
And then you'll be back with Chris.
Yes, so I'll work with you and Chair Smith
And
on
then you
the
gotta
next
let us
date.
know.
Right,
So we need a motion to postpone our meeting.
Oh, I would be happy to make that motion if I know exactly what we're.
postpone to a later date.
To make motion postpone to a later date to be determined.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Then we will do that. I'll connect with you and Chair Smith to make sure that Chris, to make sure that we have a date that fits everyone.
Right, and sorry to interject one more time, so I'll be out the whole of next week. But,
Okay.
you know, loop back around with me, April 8th, I guess, and we can go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I just, as part of the board, just say that, that Chris, we appreciate all of that you have done for us in spite of all that's been going on in your life. We thank you, we appreciate you, and just wish you nothing but the best.
Well, thank you, I do appreciate that, and you know, now we know this won't be my last board meeting, I'll be here for for whatever day in April you said.
Well, maybe we
I'll
need
give
to-
my speech then.
Might have to turn that into a party. Okay, well, then I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
That motion.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? All right. The meeting is adjourned.